I think every business needs a social presence, because if I'm looking to hire someone, or if I am looking to work with the business or something like that, I'm going to go onto social media and see what people are saying about the business, look at their social following. It gives them a bit of credibility. But what happens is a lot of businesses go, okay, that's all we need, right? And then they pay for that. But that's not really yielding any results in my point of view. I think, well, it's going to give the results when people are looking for the business, yes, so they can find them online. But what it's not really going to do is attract new customers. And I think that's where people need to put a much bigger focus on just going, hey, let's do social media, and really look at the point from, okay, if I'm investing in social media, how is this going to bring new people into my world that I can then in turn sell them one of my products later on, whether it be a class or an online workshop or an in-person workshop. And yeah, I feel like that's a puzzle piece that's missing.
Welcome to the Shift Your Vibe to Thrive podcast. My name is Emily Evans Russell, and I'm a single mom, multiple six-figure business owner, and master mindset and energy coach. I created this podcast with two main targets. One, to give you practical tools so that no matter where you are in your life right now, you not only know that things can shift, but you know how to make them greater. And two, to change your frequency so that you become an energetic match for everything you desire. I'm talking your relationships, your finances, your success, all of it. Think of this podcast as your weekly energetic upgrade with a mix of subconscious mind hacks, ways to quantum leap, and consciousness shifts. A place where you learn to sculpt your reality and actually finally truly have the magical life you deserve, and one that works for uniquely you. Are you ready to uplevel your reality? I think I hear yes, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Thank you so much for being here. And now let's go to the show. So Matt, let's talk about something that everybody uses, social media. And if someone's listening and they have their own business, I know I first got into social media doing it for other people because it's something they didn't want to do for their own business. So they were like, I will hire you to do my social. And I found out I was good at like communicating with people, making connection, getting the word out. But there's this whole financial piece that people don't often look at with social media. And I'm really excited to hear you talk about it.
Awesome. So I know we've chatted a lot behind the scenes between our different businesses and stuff around using digital marketing. And one really big piece of, I'm just going to backtrack a bit, where people think social media is marketing because you hear social media marketing, but it's actually just one tiny piece of a really, really big puzzle. And that puzzle is something that's more called digital marketing. And digital marketing is a sort of overall strategy of how you can market online through online platforms. And that stretches beyond just social media stuff. Now, when you're going into digital marketing, that's email marketing, it's what's on your website, it's messaging and copywriting. For people that don't know what copywriting is, that's like the actual text that you use on your website. So when we're looking at social media marketing, what often happens is people know that they need to be on social media and they just go, okay, I need to find someone that can help me do this job, but not actually 100% sure what that person is doing besides just giving them a social presence. And my issue with that is, yes, I think every business needs a social presence, because if I'm looking to hire someone, or if I am looking to work with the business or something like that, I'm going to go onto social media and see what people are saying about the business, look at their social following. It gives them a bit of credibility. But what happens is a lot of businesses go, okay, that's all we need, right? And then they pay for that. But that's not really yielding any results in my point of view. I think, well, it's going to give the results when people are looking for the business, yes, so they can find them online. But what it's not really going to do is attract new customers. And I think that's where people need to put a much bigger focus on just going, hey, let's do social media, and really look at the point from, okay, if I'm investing in social media, how is this going to bring new people into my world that I can then in turn sell them one of my products later on, whether it be a class or an online workshop or an in-person workshop. And yeah, I feel like that's a puzzle piece that's missing.
a big one. So I want to hear you elaborate on that, because a lot of us, we talk about return on investment. So people are willing to invest in social because, like you said, they're like, well, I know I need to be online. I don't know how to do it, or I need help. And then, but how does that actually start creating income back? Because it does take, like, if you're using your time or paying someone else to use their time to have a presence, then what's that bigger picture that you're talking about? So it's actually not just throwing things up as a post and hoping something works, but how do you actually turn that into revenue?
Well, that's the part that now becomes I'd say, a bit of a rabbit hole, and we could be here for 20 hours talking about it. But there's a couple of different ingredients you need to look at. First is you want to identify who your audience is. And when you identify who that audience is, you then have a specific group of people that you're talking to. And I think, Emily, you can even jump in here and talk a bit about that journey, because we've had a couple of discussions about that. Of everyone wants to serve everyone, and they like, my product is for everyone, which is kind of true, but also not entirely true. Sometimes the more specific you get, and the more that you can speak to somebody specifically, it's way easier to attract them. So for example, I've got my online and digital marketing agency, but yes, actually I could probably service and help everyone, but I'm very specialized in the people that I work with. I work with self-help thought leaders or self-help influencers. And so all of my messaging talks about, when I'm wanting to bring people into that world, I'm talking about people that are wanting to specifically publish a book or get more people into classes or have information that wants to transform their clients' lives, versus if my agency was helping people with selling physical products. Like at one point, I used to do physical products, and I had this massive brand called Black Diamond, which sold activated charcoal. And I took this company, when I first started working with them, it was, I think they had made about 13 sales or something. Like, it was ridiculous. It was like maybe 13 or 30 sales, like really not much. And I think they were using about $20 or $30 a day in ad spend. In the first month that I worked with them, we did like 100 sales. By the end of it, it was like 10 sales a day that month. In the first year, we did just over $3 million, and that was from March until December, selling activated charcoal. And the next year we did $10 million selling activated charcoal only, right? So you can imagine back then, like the messaging and stuff was very different to talk directly to online business owners that were selling some sort of physical product. And even in that space, I was working specifically with like cosmetics and fashion. Those are like the verticals. And I had huge clients that I was working with to help them get those specific results. And when I was speaking to people in social media, I actually didn't even have a massive social media following at all then. What I was doing is speaking in Facebook groups, and I was showing the results I was getting for clients that is very specifically targeting people that were in some sort of cosmetics or in fashion. And then later on now work more with the self-help and self-development space. So the first thing is getting really clear on actually who you're going to serve, right? And the reason, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, well, I want to add something there, because I know this was a dilemma for me and a lot of people that I work with, is when they hear that at first. And when I heard that, I was like, but there's so many people. I don't want to like narrow down who I'm talking to. But one of my favorite analogies is, if you're trying to speak to everyone, it's kind of like being vanilla ice cream, where most people like vanilla ice cream, but it's not something that you're going to go, oh my God, like rave about vanilla ice cream, because you're trying to hit everybody at the same time. And with a business, like, I look at that as, who's your audience of like, what is your flavor particularly that makes you so unique? And, and I often talk about the energy of that, because that's what people talk about and share. It's not really vanilla. And if you try to make everybody happy, you're not being really yourself and honoring your uniqueness and your business and what you're offering other people.
Yeah, exactly. And it's sometimes I see myself as vanilla, and I have to work hard to incorporate. When I look at the energy of what I'm wanting to create in the world, I really have to try and figure out how to articulate that. Because I'm so analytically driven, I'm very much within the digital space. I'm like, oh yeah, you just do this, and you move all these pieces together. And that's kind of how I work. And then there's parts of it that go, oh, and that's what I love working with you on, is that you bring in that like the chocolate sauce or turn the vanilla into something else. And yeah, that's the beauty of your energy and mixing our two ingredients together. So yeah, that is exactly it. Is you need to have this energy where you're standing strong with what you believe in and who you are wanting to help, but at the same time, allowing it to flow through you. So it's not like it's this fixed point of like, okay, this is me and this is all that I do, but it's more like, this is what I stand for. But it's also really dynamic and energetically can shift. I hope you kind of get what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I really like that analogy. That's funny. You think you're vanilla, but how often do we think that all of that knowledge that you have, that is the practical stuff you require about the digital space, about marketing, if you have an online business, can seem really vanilla or boring to a lot of people, but it's required. And then you get to add the toppings. I like that are used so that it is really unique and flavorful and appealing to people and for you too. So I think it is that's one of the reasons I love working with you. And it's for everybody can kind of look at that combination. It doesn't have to be another person, but it can be like, let's have the practical stuff that I require and really get clear on my voice, my message, why I'm here, and then getting to add all of those things that make it so unique, like your business and whatever it is you're offering.
Yeah. So to go back to your original question and why I was talking about that was, in order for us to really get an ROI on any sort of digital marketing, we have to understand who we're serving, right? And from that, then you can have that conversation with your team, whether you're doing it yourself or you're hiring somebody out. You can then start having a benchmark on, hey, we're wanting to attract X amount of new people every single month, but we need to know who those people are. We don't just want random people from, or say, for example, you are a yoga teacher or you do some sort of in-person class. Yes, it's fabulous that you're going to be attracting people from all over the world. Not really helpful when you need to get people like butts in the seats. And then the metrics just become vanity, which is nice. Yes, that you got a social media following that's growing and people are engaging with you, but the followers don't actually lead to any sort of revenue. And that's the big part. So when we're looking at, that's just the first part of it. The next part is, in the digital space, we call it like a sales funnel. And the idea behind that is you've got this massive funnel that's at the top, and that's where all the people come in and they move step by step down until you funnel them into a product or into a service. And what a lot of people aren't looking at is, okay, fine, we're putting some efforts out to attract new people, but then what? We just post on our social media about the next upcoming class. That's not really how it works, guys. You know, like, how many times have you actually just bought something that you've seen on social media? I'm not saying it doesn't happen. You know, like, yeah, there's times I'm like, okay, that's a cool product, I need that, and I'll buy that. But in order to get there, and that's something that's actually called direct response marketing. So that's an entirely different type of marketing, and it's very well crafted, and you have expert people that just design those types of adverts, right? And they cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to produce, versus what we do and most of us work on is something that's called content marketing. And the idea behind that is we generate a content that attracts people, and then we have conversations with those people. So what we're really wanting to do is attract a new audience, have a conversation with that audience, whether that's in the DMs on Instagram or Facebook or whatever social media platform you're using, and then get them through a funnel, which is giving them information about your business, and then in turn, them going through something that's nurturing that then gets them to sign up for a class or not. That's also a big part, right? Like, it's also really clear, hey, these are the people that this is going to work for, and these are the people that it's not going to work for, which is also a massive service. Yeah. So that's what people really need to look at with social media.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. That part is so key. I think that part of the conversation that starts in that funnel is not about, I mean, at least myself, I always really resist that sort of pushy marketing. And a funnel isn't about that. It's about the conversation that happens where they're learning about you and your business, and you're learning about them and what they're asking for. And if it's not a fit, your job is not to try to sell them what you have. It's more to have a conversation and go, okay, great. I do have something, like, you're here because you desire your business to help people. We're in the business of transformation, of self-help, like that sort of personal development and growth. So to really know, like, this is what I offer. And if I don't have what that person is looking for, I'm excited to send them to somebody that does. You know, you're just like, that's part of that funnel, is a real conversation.
Yeah, totally. And I have conversations with people all the time. I was recently just in Cape Town where they've asked me, which is really interesting, is they've been following me and trying to get me to work with them. And I'm like, hey guys, this is not the scope of business that you do is not what I do. And it's really interesting when you can have that conversation where you're like, hey, I don't know if I'm best going to be able to serve you because they're in the real estate space. And that's really not my vertical and understanding. But they're like, hey, Matt, we actually just love who you are and your energy. We want to give you the money just so you can do it anyway. You know what I mean? Which I'm like, hey guys, but then you need to know this is what you're getting into, right? And it's really clear. And that's the part of like being so clear with the message and like where we're talking about vanilla or being pistachio ice cream. It's like, hey, this is what I talk about, and I talk about self-help and self-development. But it's interesting how that can still attract other people in a completely different vertical, but they go, hey, you really know what you're doing about digital marketing, and we want to work with you in that capacity.
Yeah. So, and that's a great example of someone that's willing to give money for marketing and not totally know what's going on, but they get your talent and your energy. So keep going. I know at the original question, I've asked you to sort of pull out these key things. So once you're clear on who you're talking to and this idea of a funnel, how does that start leading to like, what's next? Because like you said, we could talk about this forever, but just maybe one more simple perspective or something to look.
So something I wanted to add to about the funnel is I often see like funnel creation and creating digital assets, part of this energy that really creates momentum and moves your business forward, because now it doesn't always just feel like you're creating in this vacuum. There's this part of like when people are trying to start a business and they're not following any sort of structure at all when it comes to putting stuff out on a digital platform, it makes it really, really difficult because you've got no ways to track or have any sort of metrics to track. That's the part that I'm looking for, is you can have all of these different pieces in place, or if you don't have these pieces in place, you need to start looking at, hey, like what parts in this funnel do I want to look at and do I want to track? So let me just try and make it a bit more simple. So you've got your social media platform, and let's say, for example, you're wanting to have conversations in the DMs to get people into to buying a product from you. What you want to do is start looking with either yourself or your team and just create your own little scorecard on your computer of like, hey, how many new people are we bringing into our world every single month, right? So we go, okay, cool. We're bringing in 30 new followers. I don't really love I know that in social media we call it followers. I don't love the name like followers, but we could say 30 new people into your community. Let's say that 30 new people into your community, whether that's Instagram, Facebook, into a Facebook group, whatever that looks like. But track that so that you know that you've got some sort of benchmark. So, okay, this month you've got 30. Next month, let's try and let's get to 50. And what we can look at is going, we did these 3 social media posts that really seem to attract new people. Let's do more of those, but in a different way. Rather than just trying to reinvent the wheel every single time to come up with new content, look at what's working, double down on that so that you can attract more people, right? So that's the first metric you want to look at. Then the second metric is like, okay, how many of those new people that are coming in are we actually having conversations with? So is it 10%? So are we having a conversation with three people or 4 people? And let's just say that's 10. Let's say you bring in 40 people this month, you have 10% of them you have a conversation with. That means you're having a conversation with 4 people, and 25% of those people now become an actual client. So that's 1 person. So then all you really have to look at is going, okay, cool. We had 40 people. I had 4 conversations from those 40 people, and 1 person bought. Now all you have to do is now double that. Now bring in 80 new people that month, have 8 conversations, and now you've got 2 new clients. And you can kind of do the math. And that's what's really important about actually tracking some sort of metrics. It's not like this hard and fast thing that you need to calculate it every single day, but there is the part of really understanding your marketing efforts and how that's bringing new people into your world and how that's actually generating money down the line.
Yeah. Thank you for making that so simple. And what I want to ask you when you say that, so if you bring in 40 people and when you say I had 4 conversations, what does that look like? when you say that, like on social? What could that look like for people? It's like, well, what does that mean? How do I have a conversation with them?
Well, can I ask you something first? What does social media mean to you? When you say social media, what do you think?
It's about being social. So like at a party, it's about talking
Yeah.
with people. Like if you were at a party and you were just talking about yourself all the time, it probably like you're not being very social. So it's more about the back and forth conversation.
Yeah, exactly that. So you can think of social media as a party. I love that idea. And with your social posts, it's not all about you. It's about the people that you are serving and that you are helping them transform. It's all about them, really. And like if you're at a party and you ask people questions about them, how much more engaged are they? So when you're doing stuff on social media, ask questions. So your call to action, which is like often you'll put that at the end of a social media thing, is or like the end of a social media post or an Instagram reel. You ask somebody a question, not just like, oh, look how beautiful my day was. You know, like that gets, no one really wants to have that conversation. Ask them something like, what do you do each day so that it starts off great? Very, very simple. That adds some engagement. And then you start speaking to the people that reply to that. Or, hey, are you really struggling with the X issue? Give me a good issue that you work with in your business.
In my business.
Not actually in your business, the people that you work with. Yeah.
People finding more clients, like to have conversations with, bringing people in the door.
Right. Okay, cool. So great question on Instagram story is, hey, what's your biggest frustration with growing your business? Or, hey, what's your biggest frustration with getting more clients through the door? Question mark. Or shoot me a DM with your answer. Those people are going to send you, even if it's only 5 or 10 people reply, you're now having conversations with those people. And those conversations isn't about, once again, selling you. You're building that relationship. You're building that rapport. And this is what I love about working with you, Emily, is you can get people into the energy of not just trying to do this to get a sale, because people can pick up on that. When you're having that conversation, it needs to be because you're genuinely interested in them and interested in their issue that they're having and coach them on some sort of transformation. If you're coming in there with the energy of, okay, I've got to have this conversation with this person now so that I can try to get a sale. And, Emily and Matt told me to have 10 conversations a day. It's really not going to work either,
That is not going to work. It's like if you were on a date and if the end target of the person you're with is only sleeping with you, and you can tell that every question, right, is actually with that in mind, it's a totally different energy than going on a date and having a really great, actual interested conversation back and forth. And the night may end in sex. That is totally different than someone that has only that agenda and doesn't really care. It's the exact same with marketing, because people, anything you do, it's really that energy in it. And so I think that's why it's so key to not like listen to this podcast or get other information and just make a checklist and go, okay, I'll just do that. It's not just the doing. You actually require that information of where do I start? What do I do? And that's why I love how simple you just made that. And then it's okay, now the energy in which I'm doing it, because that is so key. It's like they go together hand in hand.
Yeah. And will you talk a bit about, and I know this is now me interviewing you on your podcast, but could you talk a bit about accessing that energy of where you have that grace and that ease with having conversations with people on social media?
I think for everyone, it's going to be a little different, because you have to look at what do you personally really like about having that conversation and what lights you up about that. And for me, I really love if I'm having a conversation with someone and I'm finding out, like you said, what are they frustrated with in business, or where do they feel stuck? And then seeing them, knowing, like when I hear what they would like to change and where they've been stuck, I can see where they're going to be in the future. Like if they're asking for that, they can have it. And so for me, that excitement of knowing that's possible for them and being able to facilitate that in a conversation, like whether or not they choose to work with me or not, even that conversation excites me if I can get them to see a different point of view, get out of the wrongness of them, see something different. So that's what excites me. So when I go to post or comment or start a conversation, that's the energy that I'm in when I have that. So for you, whoever's listening to this, what is it that gets you excited about having conversations, about interacting with people? What do you love to do when you're at a party, when you are being social?
Yeah.
And then being in that energy when you are actually on social media, when you're having a conversation in a DM, or even when you're writing an email and sending it. It's like that energy goes into everything. Hey guys, if you own a business or have an idea for one, this short message is for you. And if you're liking the podcast with Matt and I, we are teaming up on April 11th for a free masterclass on energetic marketing mastery. Because as you know, you can have all the energetic tools in the world, but without the practical marketing skills, it's hard to get your message and the thing you have to offer out in the world. And vice versa, if you have practical social media skills and online marketing, but don't get how to add your energy and this richness and authenticity to it, then it also falls flat. And so Matt and I would love to invite you to our free class. I also recorded a 4-part audio series called Rise Up, Overcome 4 Common Obstacles to Success, to get you in a very clear, high vibrating, energetic space before you come on our masterclass. Those audios are free as well. You can head to the link down in the show notes, and hopefully I will see you there or in the replay. And now back to the show.
Yeah. And we've chatted a bit about it before, but that's something that I personally call like my success signature. And that's where I'm in the calm and zoned in space. And when you were talking about this, was something that's really interesting. And I want to tell a story of when I was doing this stuff with the activated charcoal and working hugely in e-commerce. It was interesting because I was already on this sort of self-development journey and consciousness journey. But there was a part that made me not really happy selling those physical products. And because when I really got to the energy of working with those clients, it was all just about how can we sell more product? And there's also nothing wrong with that. There's people that are designed to do that. And I was trying to fit myself to be one of those marketing agency guys that could just do it because I was really good at it, like in getting people to buy product. But there was this point of like when the conversations were all about, these are the problems that we're having. Like our problems are the amount that it costs for us to acquire a customer is too high. Can you help us fix that? But I could never get anything deeper. When I'm having conversations with people that are in the self-help space, that's often the first part. Maybe it's not that, but it's, hey, my business is really struggling and that's what I need help with. So I need help with posting on social media because my business is really, really struggling. What's interesting with people that are in this space is that you can dig a little bit deeper and go, okay, I hear you that your business is struggling, but what I really want to know is what do you want to create and see in the world? Like if you have that with some of the e-commerce business owners, they'll be like, well, I just want to see people have more of my product. Like, you know what I mean? Like that, like that's the kind of answer you're going to get. You're not going to get anything of, hey, this is actually what I want to see in the world. I want to see people be kinder to animals. I mean, there are people that will be like, that do organic soaps and stuff like, yeah, I really want to make sure that there isn't so many toxins going into the plant. Yeah, that kind of stuff I can get behind and work with. But when you can really get to that energy of understanding what somebody wants to create, and then eat this pie. So it's like, okay, we want to have, this is what our business does, and we want to have this impact in the world. But the problem is we don't have enough money at this point to finance it or to keep going, or we're struggling to get more leads, etc. You have something deeper and grittier to work with and bring that into the marketing campaign. So I guess my point behind that is when you're having conversations with people, it's also not just looking at like, hey, so are you frustrated with your relationships? Tell me more about it. Really ask questions about what's going on with that person. I'd be like, okay, cool. I hear you're upset and there's some stuff going on with your relationships, but like, what's really going on here? And then have those conversations in the DM. I'm not a relationship coach. I've worked with relationship coaches. And I know that the best people that get the good results are people that ask those much deeper questions rather than just keeping it superficial. Same thing at a party. You can have that conversation of, so what do you do for work? I do whatever it is. But it's really different when you go and say, oh, that's really interesting. Like, what does your day look like? Each day you're doing that. And how does that make you feel? What's the most difficult part of your job? Like, you ask those questions. Way more engaging than just saying what you do for a living.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where do you work? Yeah.
It's that like level of question and genuine interest. And then, like you mentioned, actually really like listening to what they're saying back. And then hearing that to ask the next question. It's so interesting. We're in a world where a lot of people don't do that. Like you said on social media, that vanity metrics, a lot of it's talking to be heard, but not to listen to what's going on for other people. And I think to add on to that too, when you ask like that energy that we're in when we're having those conversations, I think especially in the space we're both in, and everyone can relate to this. I think a lot of us, when we want to create the business, and especially if it's one where we have a bigger vision, like we want to help people or help the earth or the environment, that we can get into doubting ourselves. And to have someone in your corner that doesn't have that doubt, can actually see where you're going, where you desire to go, and help you move through that, I think is so key. And that's another thing I think in that energy of, we all can fall into that. And I think we all know that support of having somebody that is like, hey, I get it. Tell me what that doubt is or what's coming up. And now let's move through it, because it's just a temporary blip, like in your subconscious of, I don't think I could do this. Like, I don't know if the business is going to work, or I don't know if I can really help someone. And then that for me too, is also in those conversations, one of the things, the energies that gets me excited is to eliminate that doubt so that people can move forward in in creating their own lives or creating their business with other people.
Yeah. Another big part of what I do it's not even when I'm even having these conversations, like I don't spend necessarily that much time chatting to people one-on-one, because I often work behind the scenes with like the messaging and with the business owners. I'm speaking to the business owners one-on-one, but I'm not often speaking to their clients one-on-one like they might be. But if you're ever writing an email or doing some sort of mass communication, I do this sort of exercise of where I try and connect with all the different beings that I'm speaking to, and actually just get the energy of who those people are, and then take it from there. It's like, hey, and just acknowledge that everything that you're creating is actually being seen by other beings and other like people. There's other people behind those screens. When you really get that, it's so impactful and powerful. And then it transcends the part of just putting stuff out there because it needs to be out there, right? And you really get into, how am I going to best serve these people? And at the same time, you also have to look at specific mechanics. Like when you're writing an email, you're going, okay, how am I going to best serve these people? But this is a sales email to get people to sign up for a program. How do I word this in a way that offers them that transformation and invites them to it, rather than just trying to sell them? And when you can do that and people feel seen, they feel heard, and you can do that on a mass way, not just one-on-one. And I do that by just connecting to all of those beings. They go, okay, what is it that these people need to hear in order to, and then also to make the decision on this product. Like the idea behind it is, they look at it, they either choose it or they don't, but it's really, you don't want people sitting on the fence, because it's also not nice for them. Like, is this really going to work for me, or is it not going to work for me? It's like, not everything I do is going to work for someone. And yeah, that's the beauty behind it. And that's just what I wanted to add.
I love that. It's a kindness to not leave people sitting on the fence going, but I don't know if this will work. So Matt, I just wanted to say thank you. And like, you might be a more regular guest on the podcast, because there's so much more we could talk about. And we're actually, for you guys listening, we're actually having a free class about this kind of beautiful combination of energetics and the pragmatics of really great marketing that really serves people and fulfills you. And so invite all you guys to check out the link. We'll put it somewhere to check that out, whether you're on with us live or the replay, and then find out more about if this is something that you'd like more info on, and if it can like serve like you as an entrepreneur in your business.
Yeah, I am so excited for this, Emily. We've been working on it behind the scenes for a while, and it's something that I've been wanting to do for a while, and I know you've been wanting to do, and it's finally coming together, and we bring it into the world.
Thank you so much, Matt. And thank you guys for listening. Thanks all for being here. I hope you got something out of that episode. If you like this podcast, please share it with someone you know who'd find it useful or interesting, and subscribe so that you can listen to past and upcoming shows.